Pradeep sir, shall I start?
Yes, you can start.
Yes, sir. Okay. Namaskar, good evening. I welcome all the brothers and sisters in online meeting of Indian section. It is our privilege and honor that Brother DHRUBA Panda is with us. Today he will be delivering special lecture on KATHOPANISHAD, first part. First, we will invoke the universal prayer. I request all the participants kindly mute your phone. Oh, hidden life, vibrant in every atom. Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature. Oh, hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Come back. Now I wish to introduce Brother Panda ji. He holds a master's degree in mathematics from NIT Rourkela. After that, he joined UCO Bank in 1973, served 25 years as branch manager, retired as chief of vigilance HRD. His hobbies are trekking in Himalayas, reading and writing. He has published 4 books, 3 on Himalayas, 1 on Upanishads. Around 30 articles were published in different reputed journals and magazines. He is a member of Theosophical Society for the last 18 years, out of which 10 years as president of Sambalpur Lodge. He is also a patron and life member of Divine Life Society Rishikesh. Now, I request respected Brother Pandaji enrich us by a discourse on one of the important Upanishad, that is Kathopanishad. Brother Pandaji.
Thank you, sister. Namaskar to all. I am thankful to Indian Section Theosophical Society who gave me this opportunity to share with you my reflection on Kathopanishad. Recently, I took a class in study camp organized at Bhavali by Utkal Theosophical Federation. And Brother Pradeep Mahapatra pointed out that one class is not sufficient for taking up a small Upanishad even. So he requested me whether I can take a series of lectures on Kathopanishad. I agreed because in that particular class I couldn't give justice to Kathopanishad. Thank you so much, all of you who have joined the meeting, and we shall discuss on Kathopanishad elaborately in these 3 lectures of 16 today and 23rd and 30th. Thanks to Pradeep ji for initiating this program. At the outset, let me give a brief outline of my lectures because I want to introduce the topics on which I will emphasize. Kathopanishad also have many characters. and all of them are relevant. First, to be introduced. So, I'll introduce Kathopanishad first, then the characters Vajasravasa, Nachiketa, and Jama, around whom a symbolic story has been built up. In the process, we shall discuss the present state of human perception and understanding, and explain the exoteric sacrifice, yajna, of sage Vajasravasa to gain celestial ends, the query of Nachiketa, the meeting of Nachiketa and Yama, the Lord of Death, the three boon Nachiketa was offered by Yama, the temptations on the way, the persistence of the seeking soul, the distinction between the pleasant and the good or noble in the world of experience. When I shall deal with the three stages of mystic ascent of the soul outlined in three boons offered to Nachiketa, I will brief on their aspirations also. Then the last part of today's lecture, I shall point out the disciplines that are necessary for pursuit of inner life, the need for a spiritual guide, the nature of higher knowledge, the 7 stages of meditation on reality, the characteristics of final goal of life. Before I start my deliberation on Kathopanishad, let me clarify that I will not deliver a discourse. ये प्रवचन जैसा नहीं है, क्योंकि I will not take mantra wise, but the underlying philosophy of the mantras. Let me begin with a biblical story about beginning of time. The universe was in the process of being created. Not everything was yet in order or fully functioning. The creator had one final task to complete. To help him complete this task, the Lord summoned an angel. And creator told angel, I saved the best for the last. I have here the real meaning of human life, the treasure of life, the purpose and goal of life. All this that I have created, because this treasure is valuable beyond description. I want to hide it. Hide this treasure so that, and so well that, human beings will know its value to be immeasurable. The angels suggested the top of a mountain, the remotest place of desert, the deepest trench of ocean, and the most wild corner of the world. But the creator did not agree. Finally, he said, let us hide it within the human being. So the search will be within, not in external world. This treasure and the search for it are subjects of the Upanishad, and so also that of Kathopanishad. This treasure is buried under layers of ego, desires, emotions, habits, and other embedded thought patterns. Atma, the individual's real identity, is waiting there. It doesn't come out when called for. It must be hunted for and dug up. All that is heaped over the buried treasure must be removed. This work is life. This work itself, the uncovering of this will be the work, and that is life. And it is magnificent adventure with Atma, the treasure as its goal. One of the outstanding and exceptional teaching in the Upanishad is that the phenomenal universe is a manifestation rather than creation. It is not creation, it is manifestation only. One absolute reality has been manifested into many. This is the difference of Indian philosophy from that of Western idea of a creator who is separate from the creation. In Western idea, creator is separate from creation. But in our Indian philosophy, creation is manifestation of all being. So he is not separate from the creation. The above story is symbolic only. The tendency of most people is to look externally to the objects of the world for happiness. Man looks toward what is without and not sees what is within. Within is immortality. Within is where reality resides. The journey to discover the real self is the goal or the purpose of life. The path described in KATHOPANISHAD is the path of yoga, whose aim is spiritual union between the individual soul and the supreme self of all. Let us now proceed to approach KATHOPANISHAD. It belongs to Brahmana portion of Katha Shakha in Krishna Yajurveda. There are 4 Vedas. As you know, let me repeat it for refreshing our mind. Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. Broadly, each Veda is divided into 2 parts, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. But more elaborately, that can be divided into 4 parts, like Mantra, Brahmana, Samhita, and Aranyaka. Upanishads belong to Jnana Kanda, and it mostly comes from Brahmana portion and Aranyaka portion of Vedas. Kathopanishad belongs to Brahmana portion of Krishna Yajurveda. Yajurveda is again divided into 2 parts, 2 sections. One is Shukla Yajurveda and another is Krishna Yajurveda. It is in the form of dialogue between a spiritually minded young boy named Nachiketa and Yama, the lord of death. Yama and Nachiketa story is not told in Kathopanishad for the first time. It is mentioned earlier in 10th Mandala of Rigveda and also in Taittiriya Brahmana. But in Rigveda and Taittiriya Brahmana, the 3rd boon of Yama was ritualistic rule of performing sacrifice or yajna, and centered on the, and here in Kathopanishad, it is centered on the spiritual experience of a Sikha, not ritual. Kathopanishad consists of 2 chapters, each containing 3 valleys, sections. Chapters, 2 chapters, and each chapter is divided into 3 sections called Balli. Therefore, the total Ballis are 6 and total number of mantras are 120, including Shanti mantra. Otherwise, it is 119, but we also include Shanti mantra in it. The Lord of Death is the main character in this Upanishad, where he plays the role of Guru. Nachiketa is the aspirant who wants to dig out the treasure of human life, as I have mentioned in the story, at the cost of all pleasure assured to him by Yama. On the contrary, Vajasravasa represents a common man who aspires for heavenly happiness by pretentious sacrifice. It is true that death is inevitable, for that which is born must die, and yet, throughout the ages, man has remained unreconciled to the presence of death. In Hinduism, if we go through literature, there are two mythological stories relating to man's encounter with death. In these stories, we have the description of man entering into dialogue with death. In both the stories. One of the stories is in Kathopanishad, where Nachiketa, the intrepid young man, wants the Lord of Death to reveal to him the immortal, the supreme secret of death. Immortal is being delivered on the secret of death. And for a mortal, the worst possible thing to encounter is death. This is metaphysical inquiry. This secret of death, which was deliberated upon, was metaphysical inquiry. To Nachiketa, death was indeed a metaphysical problem. The other one is story created around Savitri and Satyavan. Here, Savitri was not concerned with knowing the secret of death, nor was she interested in any metaphysical question regarding life and death. She was concerned with man's conquest over death. She had undertaken the stupendous task of bringing to the mortal, bringing back the mortal, her husband, with an experience of immortality. Hers was a path of yoga in which she entered the realms of death and returned after not only conquering Lord of Death, but by transforming him so that he was willingly recognize the right of man to enjoy the bliss of immortality. Bliss of immortality, to attain the bliss of mortality is right of man. But it was denied for Savitri. So she could achieve it by her same thing, yoga. But for average man, it is not, an average man is not interested in metaphysical question relating to life and death, nor is he prepared to undertake the arduous journey of yoga such as Savitri undertook. His is a modest inquiry, and that is to pierce the wall of separation, because separation is the main fear of human being from his dear and near one due to death. And here, she was interested to pierce that wall of separation. Sri Aurobindo has given expression to the helplessness of men in the presence of death in his monumental epic, Savitri. I would have quoted some portion of Savitri I would like to have, but then due to want of time, I am skipping that because that will take a lot of time. And also, Savitri Satyavan story is not, it is relevant here, but not the theme of today's talk. So I am skipping it and I'm going back to Kathopanishad. There was a sage called Vajasravasa, known also as Gautama. He performed a yajna or sacrifice called Vishwajit, which is also known as Sarvavedasa Yajna. The rishi, by virtue of the yajna, is supposed to enter the heaven of gods to enjoy the pleasure of heaven. This sacrifice demanded of the performer that he gives in charity everything that he possessed, dear and near. Day after day, he should donate. But here, in performance of this yajna, Vajasravasa played a fallacy. He acquired a few kettles which were useless. For the name's sake, the donation took place in yajna. Why kettle? Because at that time, kettle was supposed to be important part of wealth. Most important. And kettles had great value. Even kettles had great value up to 20th century. I remember in marriage ceremony, in 20th century, up to 20th century, I have observed. Recently, I don't see that. Even my sisters, my father, while giving in marriage, donated cattle to the groom, one cow. And it is customary. Even in rural areas, now they are giving. But then in most of the marriages, we miss it. But cattle was so valuable, and the tradition is still going on, that the bride's father has to give a cow to the groom. So at that time, it had great value, and the rishi didn't give. From the story, it seems he didn't give all his property, but he procured some cattle. They are totally useless, and donated them to other rishis or brahmanas who had come to the yajna. Day after day, he went on giving this as if they were the only possession. Vajasravasa had a son, perhaps only son, known as Nachiketa. He was 8 years old. This unlettered boy, perhaps untutored, simple, unsophisticated, observed the sacrifice. Those days, cattle were supposed to be given, but all should be giving milk to the owner. Otherwise, it had no value. All the multitude of cattle belonging to the sage were given in charity, whatever he has procured. The cattle wealth was held as real wealth, and so that was the procedure. To the observation of the boy, all the cattle were famished. They were only skeletons. Such cows were being given in charity. The cows which had drunk their last water for the last time, which had eaten their grass for the last time, which were without strength, which were milked for the last time. In the language of the text of the Upanishad, last time means there is no hope further that the cattle will graze grass, take water, give milk. These hopes were not there. And in the language of the text, it says, Pitodaka, Jagdhatruna, Dugdhadoha, Nirindriya, Ananda Namate Loka, Stansa, Gachatita, Dadat. He, means Nachiketa, thought, my father, by donating such useless cows, instead of attaining heaven, would go to hell. But he did not express it. He went to his father and politely asked him, very politely asked him, I am your son and belong to you. You are donating all your possessions. To whom do you want to give me, father? That was exactly what he asked. His father didn't answer. He put the same question again. Perhaps he was busy with his sacrifice and all that. So he didn't answer any. The son went to him again, and for the second time he asked. Vajasravasa kept his silence. For the third time again, he went to his father and asked the same question. And then Vajasravasa became irritated, annoyed. And as when we become annoyed with somebody, we say, go to hell. Generally, that is, you go to hell. Like that, he said, to death I give you. The sage must have been irritated and annoyed. By repeated question, he pronounced these words. And as we say, go to hell, Vajasravasa said so. The boy Nachiketa went to the abode of Yama. The literary meaning of Nachiketa is na chaketate bishtate, na chaketate bishtate. That means, despite living in this world of objects, he who is detached with dissipation, he is called Nachiketa. It has been mentioned in 135th mantra, 10th mandala of Rigveda that Nachiketa resorted to the vehicle which he has gained from discipline observed by dissipation and detachment. By virtue of the disciplined life of the boy, he has cultivated the virtue of surrender. And surrender is the only vehicle by which he went to Yama. That is explained in Veda, not in the Upanishad. Yama was absent in his abode. Nachiketa waited for him without taking any water or food for 3 days. Remember, this is important because again it will come to our discussion. He waited for Yama for 3 days without taking water or food. Yama returned on the expiry of the 3rd day and heard about starving of a mortal waiting for him. He went to Nachiketa, washed his feet, and offered him 3 boons for the pain that he has inflicted. He thought he has inflicted upon Nachiketa, maybe inadvertently, but he has inflicted. That is what is admitted. Nachiketa asked the first boon. Not asked. He was offered the first boon. He was not. He didn't ask of his own. He was offered 3 boons for the 3 days tapa he has done. The tapa word will come later. Nachiketa's first boon was, when I return to the world, may my father recognize me without any anger upon me and will receive me with affection and not with wrath. For Jama, it was so good. He said, yes, it is obvious. You have your respect for father. So I grant it. As second boon, Nachiketa asked, tell me the mystery of the universal fire, out of which the whole world has been created. Here, this universal fire I will explain later on, just after a few minutes. Yama granted the boon, and an elaborate performance of the sacrifice of the universal fire, Vaishvanara Agni, called the Vaishvanara Agni, was expounded. Then Yama offered the third boon, to which Nachiketa said, they say there is a soul. They say there is no soul. Some say it is. Some say it is not. Some say it is born. Some say it dies. Some say it is not born. Some say it doesn't die. What happens to it? If it is, what happens to it, if it is, when it goes to the beyond. This is exactly the literal meaning of the mantra. Yeyam prete vichikitsa manusye stityeke nayam astiti chaipa. Yeyam prete vichikitsa manusye stityeke nayam astiti chaipa. Etad vidya manusistastvayaham paranamesha varastrutyaha. This is my third question. Yama replied, "O child, do not put this question. Don't ask me about soul and all that. Ask for anything else. The longest life possible, the greatest pleasure conceivable, rulership of all the three worlds. What do you want? Here they are. But don't put this question. Delights of the celestial living in the seven heavens above are at your disposal. You can live unaffected by disease, old age, and fatigue as long as the universe lasts. The universe lasts. Are you satisfied? Don't put this question. Don't put this question." Repeated. Nachiketa was made of a different stuff. He was not an ordinary boy. He asked, "What is the trouble about it? Why can't I ask this question? You give me all these wonders that you have described to me, but will not answer this simple question." Yama replied, "Not even the gods have been able to answer this question. Not all the celestial put together, they have not asked this question. In all the seven heavens, all the gods taken together cannot answer this question also. They will not put such question, they will not answer that also. Therefore, child, please don't pester me with this question. Take anything else, I am ready to give you." Nachiketa finally said, "You say, O Lord, that even the gods cannot answer this question, which means to say, perhaps, that you know the answer. Gods, they do not know, but you know the answer. You want to turn me off with all the glamour of the perishable world. In this eternity of existence, what is the life of the whole universe? You want to tempt me with these pleasures. O Lord, take back all these gifts. You keep it." He said, literally he said, "You keep it. I don't want them. That you have offered to me, I don't want them. You keep them." Nachiketa will not budge unless this question is answered. This is the introduction to the Upanishad. This is so important a question that all the gods taken together, they have never asked this question. They didn't venture to ask this question. And they do not know the answer also. You are stating this. You are declaring this. That means you know. The great sacrifice, now we'll go back to the sacrifice part of Vajrasrava and its characteristic. This great sacrifice of Vajrasrava Gautam for the purpose of enjoying the pleasure of heaven is the exoteric multitude of the deeds of humanity. But we have something inside us. We have something inside us, an urge that propels us in some other direction, apart from this exoteric urge, which directs us to the enjoyment of the object of senses. This something peculiar within us is Nachiketa. Nachiketa is a person here in this story, but it is symbolic. The conscience, the viveka which come sometimes to us, in spite of doing all wrong in our life, all good in our life, there is something we don't wish we should do. And that voice comes from inside. from our inner, that is inner voice. And it tries to direct us, but sometimes it fails, sometimes it becomes successful. That thing is nothing but Nachiketa. He is not a person. In the story, he is a person. But we have something inside us, an urge to propel us in some direction apart from our exoteric urge. This something peculiar within us is Nachiketa, the son of Vajasravasa Gautam. I am repeating it because this is very important. The son of Vajasravasa Gautam, the progeny of the sage, is the conscience of the sage, which spoke out his heart. Sometimes in certain persons, almost every day, there is a shake-up of the personality from within which tells us that we are not entirely what we appear to be. What is that? That tells us about ourselves, our inner being. Our inner being is not the same as the outer being. So personality we maintain are different in our ordinary life. The layers of our personality corresponding also to the layers of the outer cosmos speak in their own language at different moments of time. This happens inside us and also in the cosmos. We do not entirely belong to this earth because we have other layers of personality which cannot belong to the surface of the physical world. And we have to maintain that. And we are maintaining. If you meditate upon this, you see, we maintain various type of personality in daily life. We have connection with cosmos also. That will come, that we are coming, one by one. Vajasravasa Gautam aspired for a heaven of satisfaction through the senses, satisfaction through the senses. And therefore, he thought that a mechanical act of pretended charity can also procure for him such an enjoyment of the senses. Because he was not prepared to part with everything that he had. Nothing can be so painful to the human being, to the human ego, as to part with its own pleasure. It wants to seek satisfaction of the senses, both here and hereafter, Ihaloka and Paraloka. We want to enjoy both. So sometimes we cheat our Ihaloka for the pleasure of Paraloka. And that is the character Vajasrava here. The charity of Vajasrava is such that he gave in charity, but he has not lost anything. See how cunning he is. He has not lost anything because he procured some useless cow. I think he didn't. He might not have paid for that because he wanted pleasure by giving such cow. He said that by giving such cow also I can attain heaven. So we are here. He plays the role of an ordinary man. We think like that. Just imagine. Sometimes we think in that way. We cheat Ihaloka to get benefit in the Paraloka. So the charity of Vajasrava is such that he gave the charity, but he has not lost anything. We donate all our useless things in the name of donation. Most of the people, we will. In the name of donation, we donate which are not useful to us, many a times. The mind rises beyond this level in conscience of Nachiketa. Vajasrava did that, but in Nachiketa, that is the higher mind, and he searches for a meaning in life, which comes to us as a teacher in the form of the observance of transience of all phenomena. Death is the greatest teacher. Yama is therefore the great guru. So this story culminates in meeting of Nachiketa and Jama, because Nachiketa is here conscience, and he went to Jama, and there he has settled with the final questions, final answer. But this is how the story has been built up. The urges within our personality comes as temptation of various kinds and types. When we tread the path of yoga, the first thing that you will face or encounter is temptation, which is difficult to resist. Temptation come not as temptation, otherwise you will recognize it. The urge for sensory gratification, the urge for satisfying the ego comes as necessity of life. They don't come as temptation. We don't feel that that is temptation. We call it, oh, it is necessary for me. Attachment will be mistaken for compassion. Passion and greed will be mistaken for needs of life. Thus, the path to the eternal is described as sharp as Shurasya. It is so testing. It is so much testing our purity that it is as sharp as Shurasya. The stage of withdrawal and experience described in KATHOPANISHAD includes at least three fundamental levels of passages of the soul. The lowest and the first experience is the world of perception through the sense, which is represented by the sacrifice of Vajasravasa Gautam. The second is the rise of aspiration with the individual symbolized in the search for the truth in the mind of Nachiketa. Then comes the temptation, and then comes the revelation of knowledge. This knowledge of reality also comes by stages. It does not come at once. While knowledge comes, wisdom lingers. There is a saying. Tapas and austerity represented in the three fasts of observed, the three fasts observed by Nachiketa for for 3 days and 3 nights at Yama's door. Remember, I told you at that time that that is important. Now we'll discuss on that. 3 days without food and without water he spent. That is nothing but tapas. Nachiketa is the seeking soul, and the three fasts are the threefold discipline of the human individuality. We have come from personality to individuality. The entire yoga is here given in a nutshell. The three levels of the human individuality corresponding to the three levels of cosmos outside are to be disciplined. They should not be given a long rope for indulgence externally. The three parts are the physical, represented by sensory activity, the psychological, constituting emotion, will, etc. And the spiritual are the fundamental stages of the ascent, for which sake Nachiketa, the individual soul, seeking reality or truth, observed the fast, upavasa. And that upavasa is tapa. What is the fast? It is withdrawal from indulgence, the gradual subdual of the sensory power. Gradual subdual, not all of a sudden. You cannot stop like that. You cannot all of a sudden withdraw, but gradual. The second tapa is the psychological character. The second fast of Nachiketa is therefore psychological stuff. Mana, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. All the aspects of the psychological organs are disciplined in second form of tapas. Tapaha. Vaishvanara Agnividya represents the knowledge of the cosmic fire. We regard fire as the symbol of ultimate will. The very first mantra of Rigveda is an invocation of this fire, Agnimile Purohita. This knowledge of supreme creative principle came to Nachiketa as a result of the first of the psychological personality from the external. You go to the internal, inward, and then to the universal. The great impediments to spiritual progress is known as avidya, ignorance, kama, desire, karma, action. These are three. These three aspects of obstacles are really a single obstacle presenting itself in three different ways. So the whole of one's life is a threefold effort of avidya, karma, and kama. This is the Tripura, the threefold fortress of demonical power, which Lord Shiva supposed to have broken as Tripurari. He's Tripurari. He has broken the Tripura. These are the three knots or granthis: Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, and Rudra Granthi, which is the Hatha Yogi, Kundalini Yogi, and Tantrika speak of avidya, kama, and karma. KATHOPANISHAD says, Trinachiketa, Tiviretya Siddhim, Trikarmakrut, Tarati Janma Mrityu. The three fasts of Nachiketa may be compared to the soul's endeavor to break through these three fortresses. A withdrawal gradually effected from the outer to the inner. We enter inner, overcoming the force of karma, kama, and avidya. Three forms of tapas are austerity. Three forms of tapas have to be undergone with three aids and with the help of three sadhanas or spiritual practices. This is what is meant by Trinachiketa. You gain mystery over the conditions which limit you to the three locus: physical, astral, and celestial planes. The overcoming of this threefold bondage is the implication of the term Trinachiketa. The instruments that have to be made use in this effort are the mind, the intellect, and the spirit, Mana, Buddhi, and Atma. Triviretya Sandhim. You have also to perform three actions: Trikarma, Yajna, Dana, and Tapa. One who puts forth this threefold spiritual endeavor overcomes birth and death, Tarati Janma Mrityu. After explaining both exoteric and esoteric meaning of the sacrifice of fire, universal fire, Panchagni Vidya, Yama tested the boy, Nachiketa, where he understood it, and Nachiketa repeated whatever Yama had explained. He repeated exactly. Yama was pleased and happily rewarded Nachiketa a felicitation in which he named the Panchagni Vidya as Nachiketa Agni. It was a special boon, apart from the three boon offered. Sir, tell me if time will permit, I will proceed. Here we end the second answer of the second questions. So if time permits, you can continue, or you can take up the rest in the next.
Okay, you can take up a rest next class. Already 50 minutes.
Already, I think there is 10 minutes. May I take 2-3 minutes more?
Yes.
At this, all this is an introductory exposition given by the Upanishad to the essential secret about which Nachiketa put his third question, Atma Tattva, Mahati Samparaya. This third boon that Yama is going to bestow upon Nachiketa pertains to the innermost secret of things, the secret which is hidden in the cave of the heart of all beings. All beings. Nanyam varam nachiketa brudite. Other than this, he told, I'm not going to leave this. Other than this, nothing can satisfy Nachiketa. Now, Yama comes to the main argument of the whole Upanishads. And that is the heart and soul of the aspiration of Nachiketa. How can one know it? And who can know it? Nanyam atma pravachane na labhyo na medhaya na bahuna srutena. This is Prathama Adhyaya, Dvitiya Valli, 23rd mantra. And before that, it is mentioned, Na narena varena prukta esha subhigyayo bahudha chintamana. Bahudha chintamana. This is 8th mantra. This Atma, this truth of all things cannot be known through arguments or speech or discourse, not by immense scholarship in scriptures, not by acuteness of intellect, because the subtlety of the intellect is, after all, based on what we call the logical law or the principle. The intellect, the mind, and the senses seem to be common group. With these untrustworthy instruments of knowledge, we cannot really know truth. Kathopanishad warns us that by sheer study, argument, intellectuality, and rationality, truth cannot be known. Truth has to be known by one with the blessings of special efforts or instrument known as Ananya Prakti. Ananya Prakti. And also, it is your own effort which will let you know the truth. So, this Ananya Prakti, let us stop here. I will explain this term and we proceed further in the next meeting. Thank you so much for passion with which you could tolerate me for almost 40 minutes or 45 minutes. Thank you once more.
Pandaji, by your excellent and in-depth presentation, you have thrown light the antiquity and historicity of the subject, and also you explained the symbolic and metaphysical aspect of the content. What I understood, that you said that Nachiketa is an embodiment of the seeker within us, wants to achieve the purpose of life. We all are seeker like Nachiketa, want to know the mystery of death. Thank you so much. Now the platform is open for discussion. Participants can ask questions, and if someone wants to add, they are most welcome. Thank you so much.
हेलो सर, नमस्कार।
नमस्कार जी।
सर, उसमें अभी आपने गौदान के बारे में बोला, तो थियोसॉफिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हम गौदान को किस प्रकार समझें?
Actually, Godan is something physical that I have mentioned in my lecture also. That is something physical. From physical, we enter the psychological and then the universal. And Kathopanishad leads us from physical level to psychological level to universal level. So this गोदान जो है उसको इसलिए ऐसा समझना चाहिए कि our physical world में जो bodily needs है, mostly in that time, the Vedic period, cow was very important as giving food for the physical body. And that is how the Upanishad also says, and in theosophy also we can take in that way, because in physical world also we have some role to play. And the psychological world, this Godan is something which Go means we call it Mata or mother, because it provides us food and all sorts of manure and many uses. So Godan is Godan belongs to physical level only.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Sushma ji, as there is nobody
Okay.
or any, you can close.
Okay. Thank you, sir, once again. असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतम गमय. From the unreal lead us to the real, from darkness lead us to light, from death lead us to immortality. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dubhag bhavet. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Thank you for joining. Thanks
Namaskar
for
to all.
once again, Pandaji.